Antinous, a poem by Fernando Pessoa. Read for LibriVox.org by Subhash Chander. www.subhashsings.com. It rained outside right into Hadrian's soul. The boy lay dead, on the low couch on whose denuded whole, to Hadrian's eyes, the shadowy light of the death's eclipse was shed. The boy lay dead, and the day seemed a night outside. The rain fell like a sick affright of nature at her work in killing him. Through the mind's galleries of their past delight, the very light of memory was dim. O hands that clasped erewhile Hadrian's warm hands, that now found them but cold. O hair bound erstwhile with the pressing bands, O eyes too diffidently bold, O bare female male body like a god that dawns into humanity. O lips whose opening redness erst could strike lust's seeds with a soiled art's variety. O fingers killed in things not to be named. O tongue which counter-tongued the throbbed brows flamed. O glory of a wrong lust pillowed on rage consciousness's spilled suspension. These things are things that now must be no more. The rain is silent and the emperor sinks by the couch. His grief is like a rage. For the gods take away the life they give and spoil the beauty they made live. He weeps and knows that every future age is staring at him out of the to-be. His love is on universal stage. 1,000 unborn eyes weep with his misery. Antinous is dead forever, is dead forever, and the love's lament. Venus herself, that was Adnoi's lover, seeing him again, having lived dead again, lends her great skyey grief now to be blent with Hadrian's pain. Now is Apollo sad because the stealer of his white body is forever cold. In vain shall kisses on that nippled point, covering his heartbeat's silent place, implore his life again to ope his eyes and feel her presence along his veins, this fortress hold of love. Now no caressing hands anoint with growing joy that body's lusting lore. The rain falls and he lies like one who hath forgotten all the gestures of his love and lies awake waiting their hot return. But all his wisest art is now with death. He lies with her whose sex cannot him move, whose hand were it not cold, still never his could burn. Lilies were on his cheeks and roses too. His eyes were sad in joy sometimes. He said oft in his close abandonments that woo love to be more love than love can be. Kiss my eyelids till my closed eyes seem to guess the kiss they feel laid in my heart's breast bed. O Hadrian, what shall now thy cold life be? What boots it to be emperor over all? His absence over thy visible empery throws a dim path. Now are thy nights widowed of love and kisses. Now are thy days robbed of the night's awaiting. Now are thy lips purposeless and thy blisses no longer of the size of thy life, mating thy empire with thy love's bold tendernesses. Now are thy doors closed upon beauty and joy. Throw ashes on thy head. Lo, lift thine eyes and see the lovely boy. Naked he lies upon the memoried bed. By thine own hand he lies uncovered. There was he wont thy dangling sense to cloy, and uncloy with more cloying, and annoy with newer uncloying till thy senses bled. His hand and mouth knew gamuts musical of voices thy own spine was heard to follow. Sometimes it seemed to thee that all was hollow, in sense of each new straining of sucked lust. Then still new crimes of fancy would he call to thy shaken flesh, and thou wouldst tremble and fall back on thy cushions with thy mind's sense hushed. Beautiful was my love, yet melancholy. He had that art of love's art most unholy, of being lithely sad among lust's rages. Now the Nile gave him up, the eternal Nile. Under his wet locks death's blue paleness wages now war upon our pity with sad smile. Even as he thinks the lust that is no more, Then a memory of lust revives and takes his senses by the hand, and his flesh quakes, till all becomes again what it was before. The dead body on the bed gets up and lives, along his every nerve ripped up and twanged, and a love over wise and invisible hand, at every body entrance to his lust, utters caresses which flit off, yet just remain enough to bleed his last nerve's strand. O sweet and cruel Parthian fugitives! He rises mad and looks upon his lover, that now can love nothing but what none know. Then his cold lips run all the body over, his lips that scarce remember their warmth, now so blent with feeling the death they behold, and so eye-senseless are his lips that lo, he scarce tastes death from the dead body's cold, but it seems both are dead or living both, and love is still the presence and the mover. Then his lips cease on the other lips' cold sloth, but there the wanting breath reminds his lips that between him and his boy love the mist that comes out of the gods has crept, the tips of his fingers still idly tickling, list to some flesh response to their purple mood, but their love orison is not understood. The god is dead whose cult was to be kissed. He lifts his hands up to where heaven should be, and cries on the mute gods to know his pain. Lo, list, O divine watchers of our glee and sorrow, list, he will yield up his reign. He will live in the deserts and be parched on the hot sands, he will be beggar and slave. But give again the boy to be arm-reached, forgo that space a meant to be his grave. Take all the female beauties of the earth, take all afar and rend them if he will. But by sweet Ganymede that Jove found worth and above, Hebe did elect to fill his cup at his high festivals and spill. His fairer vice wherefrom comes newer birth, the clod of female embraces resolve to dust, O father of the gods, but spare this boy and his white body and golden hair. Maybe thy newer Ganymede, thou mean'st that he should be, and out of jealous care from Hadrian's arms to thine his beauty stillest. He was a kitten playing with lust, playing with his own and with Hadrian's, sometimes one and sometimes two, now splitting, now one grown, now leaving lust, now lust's high lust delaying, now eyeing lust not wide, but from askance jumping around on lust's half unexpectance, then softly gripping, then with fury holding, now playfully playing, now seriously, now lying by the side of lust looking at it, now spying which way to take lust in his lust's withholding. Thus did the hours slide from their tangled hands, and from their mixed limbs the moments slip. Now were his arms dead leaves, now iron bands, now were his lips cups, now the things that sip. Now were his eyes too closed and now too open, now were his ways such as none thought might happen, now were his arts a feather and now a whip. That love they lived as a religion offered to gods that do to present bend. Sometimes he was adorned and made to don, half costumes now opposing nudity, that imitates some god's eternity, of body stature known to craving men. Now was he Venus risen from the seas, and now was he Apollo white and golden. Now as Jove sate he in mock judgment over the presence at his feet of his slaved lover. Now was he an acted rite by one beholden in ever repositioned mysteries. Now he is something anyone can be, O white negation of the thing it is. O golden-haired moon-cold loveliness, too cold, and love as cold as he. Love wanders through the memories of his vice, as through a labyrinth, in sad madness glad, and now calls on his name and bids him rise, and now is smiling at his imaged coming, that is the heart like faces in the gloaming, mere shining shadows of the forms they had. The rain again like a vague pain arose, and put the sense of wetness in the air. Suddenly did the emperor suppose he saw this room and all in it from far. He saw the couch, the boy, and his own frame, cast down against the couch, and he became a clearer presence to himself, and said these words unuttered, save to his soul's dread. I shall build these a statue that will be to the astonished future evidence of my love and thy beauty and the sense that beauty giveth of infinity, though death with subtle uncovering hands remove the apparel of life and empire from our love, yet its nude statue soul of lust made spirit, all future times, whether they wilt or not, shall like a curse seeming God's boon earth brought, inevitably inherit. I this thy statue shall I build and set upon the pinnacle of being thine. Let time by its subtle dim crime eat it from life, or with men's violence fret to pieces of unity and presence. Ay, let that be. Our love shall stand so great in thy statue of us, like a god's fate, our love's incarnate and discarnate essence, that like a trumpet reaching over seas and going from continent to continent, our love shall speak its joy and woe, death blent, over infinities and eternities. The memory of our love shall bridge the ages. It shall loom white out of the past and be eternal, like a Grecian victory. In every heart the future shall give rages of not being our love's contemporary. Yet oh that this were needed not, and thou wert the red flower perfuming my life, the garland on the brows of my delight, the living flame on altars of my soul. Would all these were a thing thou mightest now smile at from under thy death-mocking lids, and wonder that I should so put a strife twixt me and gods for thy lost presence bright. Were there not in this but my empty dole, and thy awakening smile half to condole with what my dreaming pain to hope forbids. Thus went he like a lover who is waiting from place to place in his dim doubting mind. Now was his hope a great bulk of will fating its wish to being. Now felt he was blind in some point of his seen wish undefined. When love meets death, we know not what to feel. When death foils love, we know not what to know. Now did his doubt hope, now did his hope doubt. Now what his wish dreamed, the dream sense did flout, and to a sullen emptiness congeal. Then again the gods fanned love's darkening glow. Thy death has given me a newer lust, a flesh lust raging for eternity. On my imperial will I put my trust, that the high gods that made me emperor be, will not annul from a more real life my wish that thou shouldst live forever and stand a fleshly presence on their better land. More beautiful and as beautiful, for there no things impossible our wishes mar, nor pain our hearts with change and time and strife. Love, love, my love, thou art already a god. This thought of mine, which I a wish believe, is no wish but a sight to be allowed by the great gods that love and can give to mortal hearts under the shape of wishes strong, having imperial reaches, a vision of the real things beyond, our life imprisoned life, our sense-bound sense. Ay, what I will thee to be thou art now already. Already on Olympic ground thou walkest and art perfect, yet art thou, for thou needst no excess of thee to dawn, to perfect be, being perfection. My heart is singing like a morning bird. A great hope from the gods comes down to me, and bids my heart to subtler sense be stirred, and think not that strange evil of thee, that to think thee mortal would be. My love, my god love, let me kiss on thy cold lips, thy hot lips now immortal, greeting thee at death's portal's happiness, for to the gods death's portal is life's portal. Thus is the memory of thee a god, already a statue made of me, of that part of me that, like a great sea, girds in me a great red empire, more broad than all the lands and peoples that are in my power's reach. Thus art thou myself made in that great stretch, Olympic, that betrays the true hold gods present in river and glade and hours eternal in its different days. So strong my love is that it is thyself, thy body as it was ere death was it, towering above the silence infinite that girds round life and its unduring pelf. Even as thou wert in life, thy corporal shade is in the presence of the gods. My love permits not that its carnal being fade, or one whit falls to fleshly presence prove. Creeds may arise and pass, and passions change. Other ways may be born out of time's dream. But this our love, made but thy body, will range on deathless meads from happy stream to stream. Were there no Olympus for thee, my love, would make thee one, where thou sole God mightest prove, and I thy sole adorer, glad to be thy sole adorer through infinity. There were a divine universe enough for love and me, and what to me thou art. To have thee is a thing made of God's stuff, and to look on thee eternity's best part. O love, my love, awake with my strong will of loving to Olympus and be there, the latest god, whose honey-coloured hair takes divine eyes, as thou wert on earth, still in heaven bodifully be and roam, a prisoner of that happiness of home, with elder gods, while I on earth do make a statue for thy deathlessness' seen sake. That deathless statue of thee I shall build will be no stone thing, but my great regret, by which our love's eternity is willed. My sorrow shall make thee its god, and set thy naked presence on the parapet that looks over the seas of future times. Some shall say, all our love was vice and crimes. Others against our names as stones shall whet the knife of their glad hate of beauty, and make our name a pillory, a scaffold, and a stake, whereon to burn our brothers yet unborn. Yet shall our presence, like eternal morn, ever return at beauty's hour, and shine out of the east of love, and be the shrine of future gods that nothing human scorn. My love for thee is part of what thou wert, and shall be part of what thy statue will be. Our double presence unified in thee shall make to beat many a future heart. I wear it a statue to be broken and missed, yet its stone perfect memory would still more perfect on time's shoulders borne, overlook the great morn from an eternal east. Thy statue of thyself and of me, our dual presence has its unity in that perfection of body which my love, in loving it, did out of mortal life raise into godness set above the strife of times and changing passions far above. The end of days, when Jove is born again, and Ganymede again pour at his feast, shall see a dual soul from death released, and recreated unto love, joy, pain, life. All the beauty, and the vice and lust, all the diviner side of flesh staged. And if our very memory wore to dust, by the giant race of the end of ages, must our dual presence once again be raised. It rained still, but slow-treading night came in, closing the weary eyelids of each sense. The very consciousness of self and soul grew like a landscape through dim raining, dim. The emperor lay still, so still that now he half forgot where now he lay, or whence the sorrow that was still salt on his lips. All had been something very far, a scrawl rolled up. The things he felt were like the rim that hallows round the moon when the night weeps. His head was bowed into his arms, and they on the low couch foreign to his sense lay. His closed eyes seemed open to him, and seeing the naked flow, dark, cold, sad and unmeaning. His hearting breath was all his sense could know. Out of the falling darkness the wind rose and fell. A voice swooned in the courts below, and the emperor slept. The gods came now and bore something away, no sense knows how, on unseen arms of power and repose. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To the Average Man by Wallace Irwin, read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. The average man wears the average clothes and the average hat on his head. He eats at a table and sits on a chair, and normally sleeps on a bed. For he scorns the eccentric, and never would dare to sleep on a table or eat on a chair. The average man seeks the corner saloon Homeric refreshment to find, but shunning the tipple, he wanders to church, where he is devoutly inclined. Nor does he expect to find whiskey or dice in the place that is famed for religious advice. The average man says the average things and sings just the average songs. He is deucedly fond of the average girl, for whom he unceasingly longs, and his vices and virtues, too many to tell, are oddly at odds, but they average well. Statistics declare that the average man finds the average woman and mates, that the average family, children all told, is something like 2 3/8. Though fractional children disturb and appall, the average man isn't worried at all. The average man reads the average books, and sometimes he writes 'em, I hear. He's neither a genius, a knave, nor a fool. In fact, he despises the queer. For if he departed the average plan, he'd cease to be known as the average man. But deep in the breast of the average man the passions of ages are swirled, and the loves and the hates of the average man are old as the heart of the world. For the thought of the race, as we live and we die, is in keeping the man and the average high. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
It is a beauteous evening, calm and free, by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. It is a beauteous evening, calm and free. The holy time as quiet as a nun breathless with adoration. The broad sun is sinking down in its tranquillity. The gentleness of heaven broods o'er the sea. Listen, the mighty being is awake, and doth with his eternal motion make a sound like thunder everlastingly. Dear child, dear girl, that walkest with me here, if thou appear untouched by solemn thought, thy nature is not therefore less divine. Thou liest in Abraham's bosom all the year, and worshipst at the temple's inner shrine, God being with thee when we know it not. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Bright star, would I was steadfast as thou art, by John Keats. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Bright star, would I was steadfast as thou art. Not in lone splendour hung aloft the night, and watching, with eternal lids apart, like nature's patient, sleepless eremite, the moving waters at their priest-like task of pure ablution round earth's human shores, or gazing on the new soft-fallen mask of snow upon the mountains and the moors. No, yet still steadfast, still unchangeable, pillowed upon my fair love's ripening breast, to feel forever its soft fall and swell, awake forever in a sweet unrest, still, still to hear her tender taken breath, and so live ever, or else swoon to death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Dream of Death by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. I dreamed that one had died in a strange place near no accustomed hand, and they had nailed the boards above her face, the peasants of that land, and wondering, planted by her solitude, a cypress and a yew. I came and wrote upon a cross of wood, man had no more to do. She was more beautiful than thy first love, this lady by the trees, and gazed upon the mournful stars above, and heard the mournful breeze. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Driftwood by Sarah Teasdale. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira. August 2016. My forefathers gave me my spirit's shaken flame, the shape of hands, the beat of heart, the letters of my name. But it was my lovers, and not my sleeping sires, who gave the flame its changeful and iridescent fires, as the driftwood, burning, learned its jewelled blaze from the sea's blue splendour of coloured nights and days. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The End of the World by Gordon Bottomley. Read for LibriVox.org by Algy. The snow had fallen many nights and days. The sky was come upon the earth at last, sifting thinly down as endlessly as though within the system of blind planets something had been forgot or overdriven. The dawn now seemed neglected in the grey where mountains were unbuilt and shadowless trees rootlessly paused or hung upon the air. There was no wind, but now and then a sigh crossed that dry falling dust and rifted it through crevices of slate and door and casement. Perhaps the new moon's time was even past. Outside, the first white twilights were too void, until a sheep called once, as to a lamb, and tenderness crept everywhere from it. But now the flock must have strayed far away. The lights across the valley must be veiled, the smoke lost in the greyness or the dusk. For more than 3 days now the snow had thatched that cowhouse roof, where it had ever melted, with yellow stains from the beast's breath inside. But yet a dog howled there, though not quite lately. Someone passed down the valley, swift and singing, yes, with locks spreaded like a sun of morning. But if he seemed too tall to be a man, it was that men had been so long unseen, or shapes loomed larger through a moving snow. And he was gone, and food had not been given him. When snow slid from an overweighted leaf, shaking the tree, it might have been a bird slipping in sleep or shelter, whirring wings. Yet never bird fell out, save once a dead one, and in 2 days the snow had covered it. The dog had howled again, or thus it seemed, until a lean fox passed and cried no more. All was so safe indoors, where life went on, glad of the close enfolding snow. Oh, glad to be so safe and secret at its heart, watching the strangeness of familiar things. They knew not what dim hours went on, went by, for while they slept, the clock stopped newly wound, as the cold hardened. Once they watched the road, thinking to be remembered. Once they doubted if they had kept the sequence of the days, because they heard not any sound of bells. A butterfly, that hid until the spring under a ceiling's shadow, dropped, was dead. The coldness seemed more nigh. The coldness deepened as a sound deepens into silences. It was of earth, and came not by the air. The earth was cooling and drew down the sky. The air was crumbling. There was no more sky. Rails of a broken bed charred in the grate, and when he touched the bars, he thought the sting came from their heat. He could not feel such cold. She said, "Oh, do not sleep. Heart, heart of mine, keep near me. No, no, sleep. I will not lift his fallen, quiet eyelids, although I know he would awaken then. He closed them thus, but now of his own will. He can stay with me while I do not lift them." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fancies about a Rosebud, pressed in an old copy of Spenser, by James Russell Lowell. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Who pressed you here? The past can tell, when summer skies were bright above, and some full heart did leap and swell beneath the white new moon of love. Some poet, haply, when the world showed like a calm sea, grand and blue, ere its cold inky waves had curled o'er the numb heart once warm and true, when, with his soul brimful of morn, he looked beyond the veil of time, nor saw therein the dullard scorn that made his heavenliness a crime, when, musing o'er the poets olden, his soul did like a sun upstart to shoot its arrows, clear and golden, through slavery's cold and darksome heart. Alas! Too soon the veil is lifted that hangs between the soul and pain. Too soon the morning red hath drifted into dull cloud, or fallen in rain. Or were you pressed by one who nursed bleak memories of love gone by, whose heart, like a star fallen, burst in dark and erring vacancy? To him you still were fresh and green as when you grew upon the stalk, and many a breezy summer scene came back, and many a moonlit walk. And there would be a hum of bees, a smell of childhood in the air, and old fresh feelings cooled the breeze that, like loved fingers, stirred his hair. Then would you suddenly be blasted by the keen wind of one dark thought, one nameless woe that had outlasted the sudden blow whereby 'twas brought. Or were you pressed here by two lovers who seemed to read these verses rare, but found between the antique covers what Spenser could not prison there? Songs which his glorious soul had heard, but his dull pen could never write, which flew, like some gold-winged bird, through the blue heaven out of sight? My heart is with them as they sit. I see the rosebud in her breast. I see her small hand taking it from out its odorous, snowy nest. I hear him swear that he will keep it in memory of that blessed day, to smile on it or overweep it when she and spring are far away. Ah me! I needs must droop my head, and brush away a happy tear, for they are gone, and, dry and dead, the rosebud lies before me here. Yet is it in no stranger's hand, for I will guard it tenderly, and it shall be a magic wand to bring mine own true love to me. My heart runs o'er with sweet surmises, the while my fancy weaves her rhyme. Kind hopes and musical surprises throng round me from the olden time. I do not care to know who pressed you, enough for me to feel and know that some heart's love and longing blessed you, knitting today with long ago. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
First Love by John Clare. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. I ne'er was struck before that hour with love so sudden and so sweet. Her face it bloomed like a sweet flower, and stole my heart away complete. My face turned pale, as deadly pale, my legs refused to walk away, and when she looked, what could I ail? My life and all seemed turned to clay. And then my blood rushed to my face, and took my eyesight quite away. The trees and bushes round the place seemed midnight at noonday. I could not see a single thing, words from my eyes did start. They spoke as chords do from the string, and blood burnt round my heart. Are flowers the winter's choice? Is love's bed always snow? She seemed to hear my silent voice, not love's appeals to know. I never saw so sweet a face as that I stood before. My heart has left its dwelling place, and can return no more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Good and Evil by Samuel Griswold Goodrich, read for LibriVox.org, by Michael Landu. When man from Paris was driven, and thorns around his pathway sprung, sweet Mercy wandering there from heaven, upon those thorns bright roses flung. Aye, and as Justice cursed the ground, she stole behind, unheard, unseen, and while the curses fell around, she scattered seeds of joy between. And thus, as evils sprung to light, and spread like weeds their poisons wide, fresh healing plants came blooming bright, and stood to check them, side by side. And now though Eden blooms afar, and man is exiled from its bowers, still Mercy steals through bolt and bar, and brings away its choicest flowers. The very toil, the thorns of care, that heaven and wrath for sin imposes, by Mercy changed no curses are, one brings us rest, the other roses. Thus joys linked with every woe, each cup of ill its pleasure brings. The rose is crushed, but then, you know, the sweeter fragrance from it springs. If justice throw athwart our way a deepening eve of fear and sorrow, hope like the moon reflects the ray of the bright sun that shines tomorrow. And Mercy gilds with stars the night, sweet music plays through weeping willows, the blackest cave with gems is bright, and pearls illume the ocean billows. The very grave, though clouds may rise, enshrouded o'er with midnight gloom, unfolds to faith the deep blue skies, that glorious shine beyond the tomb. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Heart of Australia by Henry Lawson, read for LibriVox.org by Son of the Exiles. The Heart of Australia. When the wars of the world seem ended, and silent the distant drum, 10 years ago in Australia I wrote of a war to come, and I pictured Australians fighting as their fathers fought of old, for the old things, pride or country, for God or the devil or gold. And they lounged on the rim of Australia in the peace that had come to last, and they laughed at my cavalry charges, for such things belonged to the past. Then our wise men smiled with indulgence ere the swift years proved me right, saying, "What shall Australia fight for, and whom shall Australia fight?" I wrote of the unlocked rivers in the days when my heart was full, and I pleaded for irrigation where they sacrifice all for wool. I pictured Australia fighting when the coast had been lost and won, with arsenals west of the mountains and every spur its gun. And what shall Australia fight for? The reason may yet be found, when strange shells scatter the wickets and burst on the football ground. And who shall invade Australia? Let the wisdom of ages say, the friend of a further future or the ally of yesterday? Aye, what must Australia fight for in the strife that never shall cease? She must fight for her work unfinished. She must fight for her life and peace. For the sins of the older nations she must fight for her own reward. She has taken the sword in her blindness, and shall live or die by the sword. But the statesman, the churchman, the scholar still peer through their glasses dim, and they see no cloud on the future as they roost on Australia's rim, where the farmer works with the lumpers and the drover drives a dray, and the shearer on Garden Island is shifting a hill today. Had we used the wealth we have squandered and the land that we kept from the plough, a prosperous federal city would be over the mountains now, with farms that sweep to horizons and gardens where plains lay bare, and the bulk of the population and the heart of Australia there. Had we used the time we have wasted and the gold we have thrown away, the pick of the world's mechanics would be over the range today, in the valley of coal and iron, where the breeze from the bush comes down, and where thousands of makers of all things should be happy in Factory Town. They droned on the rim of Australia, the wise men who never could learn. Our substance we sent to the nations, and their shoddy we bought in return. In the end shall our soldiers fight naked, no help for them under the sun, and never a cartridge to stick in the breech of a Brummagem gun? With the wars of the world coming near us, the wise men are waking today. Hurry out ammunition from England, mount guns on the cliffs while you may, and God pardon our sins as a people if invasion's unmerciful hand should strike at the heart of Australia, drought cramped on the verge of the land. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Holy Isle, a Legend of Bardsey Abbey, by Ignatius, Order of St. Benedict. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Holy Isle, a Legend of Bardsey Abbey. I watched the sea waves ebbing beneath the crimson glow, which sunset light was pouring upon their soft, sweet flow. The wavelets looked like dancers upon the sunlit sea. They sung in whispering chorus. I thought they sung to me of fair and far-off landscapes, beyond that molten tide of better joys and gladness, beyond those waters wide. The wavelets all seemed passing on to some other strands, and following the sun's glow to ever sunlit lands. But as I thought these fancies, again I raised mine eyes, and saw the sunset tinting the glorious western skies. Now mid the farewell glories of Sol's departing ray, I saw an island resting upon his golden way. There, misty mid the sunshine, the far-off isle appears, right out among the sea waves its rocky coast uprears. And as I gaze, the sunset seems lighting up its shore, bathing the isle in glory, and then is seen no more. Sweet, soothing calm fell over me. I watched the islet still. All round me heard I voices, which seemed the air to fill. Said one, "That isle is holy, for saints are sleeping there. Now lonely and deserted, 'twas once an isle of prayer." O man, say, wouldst thou tremble to come away and see in vision strange sweet pictures which I can show to thee? The angel was so lovely, so sweet the angel's smile, I easily consented. He pointed to the isle. Then will I bear thee thither, 1,000 years ago. I speak to aid thy weakness, no time can angels know. The present, past, and future, all one they are to me. I pass along their boundaries, unlimited and free. A strange, calm change stole over me. My spirit seemed to rise in gentle, tireless motion, just as the sea-bird flies. My angel guide was leading my spirit over the sea. One moment, and we rested upon the islet's lee. Soft gloaming filled the air, deep peace lay all around. Hushed voices seemed to whisper, a wave-like, murmuring sound. Sweet angel, say, where am I? Say me the island's name, and tell me why such glory enwraps it as a flame. Say, too, what is that chanting, so sweet, so very near? The strangeness of this beauty, it fills my soul with fear. This holy place is Bardsey. Jesus, he loves it well. 'Tis wrapped in God's own brightness, safe from the power of hell. Those voices are the virgins in yonder abbey choir, praises to Jesus singing, of which they never tire. Hush! mid the shades of evening, how restfully they sing, their vesper praise wreath bringing to Jesus Christ their King. Mid lights of sunset glowing, St. Mary's Abbey stands, but see, 'tis wrapped in glories from far off better lands. I looked again and started, for lo, another scene! The convent is surrounded with heaven's own brightest sheen, and choirs of angels hover high in the sunset air, while the holy monks are chanting their peaceful evening prayer. The monastery is glowing like heaps of molten gold. The walls seem all transparent with majesty untold. 'Tis strange, my spirit enters St. Mary's sacred shrine. I see the cowled figures in many a white-robed line, filling the stalls, but facing the hallowed altar throne, where Jesus makes his dwelling, untended and alone. O peaceful, happy Bardsey, sweet island of the sea, I would for ever rest me, all joyfully in thee. O dear St. Mary's Abbey, on Bardsey's northern shore, would I could bide within thee, and part from thee no more. O happy monks and virgins, singing by night and day your hymnals to sweet Jesus, in dearest fondest lay. How can I speak your glory, how can I tell your worth? Ye are the church's safeguard, ye are the salt of earth. Ye live the life of angels, ye never cease from praise. To heaven your intercedings for sinners ceaseless raise. Ah, well may throngs of sinners seek this most sacred isle, well may 10,000 pilgrims visit St. Mary's pile. Well mayst thou, Aberdaron, loving to Bardsey be, and daily turn thy glances to the islet out at sea. For Bardsey is the lighthouse of many a shipwrecked soul, to many a way-worn wanderer is Bardsey's isle the goal. The glow of Bardsey's brightness illumes wild Cambria's shores, across the Irish Channel her heavenly light she pours. And blessed saints in thousands have dwelt on Bardsey's hill, sending her countless virgins celestial choirs to fill. How Jesus must love Bardsey and prize her sacred soil! Here saints in countless numbers have rested from earth's toil, have laid aside the burden of poor mortality, and entered on the Sabbath of glad eternity. While thus I dream, the organ is pealing forth its wave. The holy monks are marching all slowly down the nave. Dear angel, may I follow them down the cloister still, and join their recreation on yonder mossy hill? The angel smiled permission, I willed myself along, until unseen I joined me to the happy virgin throng. Here there were boys most lovely, and there old hoary men, and youths, and those of mid-age, here joyous boys again. I followed one young novice, who held an old man's hand. I listened, they were speaking of some dear distant land. The boy I saw was pointing away, right out to sea, where moonlight made a pathway of silver radiancy. The silver way seemed joining together sea and sky. The stars seemed trembling over it, like lightlets from on high. Dear Father Cadfan, look now, said the bright and lovely boy. I'm sure that silver roadway leads to our home of joy. No, no, my son, 'tis only an emblem of the way, across time's changing storm tide, to regions of the day. And then the old man turning towards Cambria's rock-bound shore, pointed the boy to Barmouth, but then called Abermawr. "My son," said he, "'tis yonder, long years ago I tried to bring poor souls to Jesus, who once for sinners died. But there the Druids held them in error's iron chain, they would not hear of Jesus, and drove me thence again. Yet though at Abermawr I failed, mid Towyn's marshes drear, the people bowed before the cross, and sought the Saviour dear. My son, one day thou must away, if Father Abbot wills, and build a shrine to Christ divine, mid Barmouth's rocky hills. The idols which they worship thou boldly must destroy. Promise old Father Cadfan this, my brave, my darling boy." The boy's bright eyes were flashing, he grasped the old man's hand. "Father, I will preach Jesus upon that darkened strand. Only, my father, pray for me, when thou hast passed the sea, and reignest with our Jesus in the kingdom of the free." St. Cadfan smiled, and blessed the lad, his heart's desire seemed gained. From idol worship for the Lord should Abermawr be claimed. The Compline bell tolled solemnly from out St. Mary's tower, calling the monks to worship at day's last hallowed hour. Dubricius, the novice boy, stood meekly in his stall. The fathers and the novices chanted the office all. But Father Cadfan was not there. Calmly his body lay upon the mount by Bardsey Sound. His spirit passed away. His work was done, his prize was won, the holy monk was gone, to join the virgin song notes before the eternal throne. The boy so beautiful and pure grew up to manhood's bloom, and oft times visited for prayer the blessed Cadfan's tomb. One night the sun was sinking behind the western wave, Dubricius was kneeling beside St. Cadfan's grave. The Compline chants were over, the twilight almost gone. The youth was startled by a voice which cried, "My son, my son!" A gentle light shone round the grave. He raised his eyes, and lo! St. Cadfan stood beside him, amid the weird-like glow. "My son, make haste, thy solemn vows thou speedily must make, then to the men of Abermawr the cross of Jesus take. The banner and the gospel, with holy chant and psalm, straight to the Druids' temple go, nor fear nor feel alarm. For Jesus must be Cambria's God, the night must hie away, thyself must be the harbinger of everlasting day." The youth sprung forward to embrace the friend he loved so well, but he was gone, no sound was heard, save the lone ocean's swell. How beautiful is now the convent choir, all decked for some high festival in exquisite attire. Most precious gems are gleaming upon the frontal fair, the mass priests too are vested in garments passing rare. The sacred tapers glisten the altar all along, the holy monks are chanting some sweet, some wedding song. And tall white lilies scenting the incense-laden air are bending down their petals towards a novice bowed in prayer. Yes, there before the altar I see Dubricius bow, pure as the virgin lilies encircling his fair brow. His vows are said, the cowl is given, his lifelong promise made, all earthly loves are buried now within the cloister's shade. Unfurl the sail, unloose the chain that links us to the shore, to our own precious island home, which we may see no more. Thus spake Dubricius, and the tide fast wafted him away, out towards the rocky Cambrian coast of Cardigan's fair bay. The sea was calmly resting, lit by the summer sun. In 3 short hours the convent boat her little voyage had run. Dubricius and his monkish band at once pursued their way, reaching the town of Abermawr just at the close of day. The evening's hush was resting so peacefully around, alone was heard the shrill sea-bird, and the waves' soft murmuring sound. When all at once through the restful air dread shrieks of anguish rung from the idol temple near the town, while Druid choirs sung fierce hymns to their false savage gods around the kindling flame, prepared for sacrificial rites too terrible to name. A fair young mother brings her babe, a warrior brings his boy, The Druids bind their victims with fierce fanatic joy. The weeping mother hears the wail well from her darling's breast. The father sees the Druids bind his boy with savage zest. The lad was fair to look upon. Ah, must he really die? Oh, shall such sacrifice pollute that calm blue evening sky? The boy, though brave, is trembling now. He nears the dreadful fire. He feels it scorch, yet gives his life to still the idol's ire. The father's cheek grows blanched and pale. The poor young mother stands, yearning to snatch her precious one from the stern Druid's hands. High leaps the flame, loud swells the song from the Druid's choir around, but suddenly the evening wind fills with another sound. 'Tis Miserere Domine, sung by the monkish train. Exurgat Deus Dominus, a grand and glorious strain. With crucifix and banner bright, the bold brave monks appear, and then among the heathen crowd Christ's mighty cross they rear. Cease, cease, ye sons of wickedness, this useless wicked rite. The God of heaven has sent me here, of majesty and might. Dubritius spoke, and seized the boy straight from the altar's side, and caught the infant from the flame, or ere the darling died. While this was done, some novices had hurled the idol down. Jesus is God, the monks proclaim, your king with homage crown. Ye Druids move not, or we call God's angels to our aid. The hour has come, by evermore worship must now be paid to Jesus Christ and him alone. Crown him, ye people all, he bought you with his precious blood, prostrate before him fall. Dubritius with mighty power told of the love so free, that made God man to die to save and bring true liberty. God gave the monks the victory. The power of Jesus' name prevailed among those savage hearts, put out the cruel flame, rescued the boy and snatched the babe from that dread altar's side, plunged them in gentle mercy's stream, the blessed baptismal tide. The days and weeks passed swiftly, new converts owned the Lord. Ere long all evermore became obedient to the word. 70 long years had flown away. See, Aberdaron weeps. Forth from her church beside the shore a long procession sweeps. See crowds of pilgrims waiting from all Carnarvon round, the hushing of the sea roar to cross the dangerous sound. The church at Aberdaron is wet with mourners' tears. Dubritius has entered upon the eternal years. His body rests so calmly before the altar high. The priests are softly wailing the mournful requiem's sigh. Upon the altar glisten the waxen tapers tall, and summer flowers are lying upon the snow-white pall. Sweet incense clouds are rising around the hallowed bier. From many an eye is falling the sad, the loving tear. Dubritius left Bardsey, his loved, his peaceful home. For 50 years mid war strife this valiant saint did roam. But now in peace he cometh in Bardsey's isle to rest, his spirit calmly dwelling in regions of the blest. Lower your crest, ye foam waves, wail adverse winds no more. Dubritius must pass over to Bardsey's sainted shore. This evening, and the sun-glow is lighting up the sea, the tiny waves are dancing for merriment and glee. They bore Dubritius to toil, to the fight at Abermore, and now they sing his lullaby, and hush their noisy roar. The boats are filling quickly at Aberdaron's quay. The Bardsey bells are pealing across the crimson sea. The Aberdaron cannons are chanting their sweet psalm. The blessed saint is passing across those waters calm. The bay of Aberdaron seems full of peace and life. Dubritius the warrior, as victor from the strife, is coming full of glory to his island home again. The welcome bells are ringing athwart the calm blue main. Hark, how the chant is rising from 100 boats and mo', mingling its soft sweet requiem with the murmuring wavelets' flow. And now the fleet of mourners reaches the haven still, and the monks' slow sad procession is winding down the hill. The sacred banners waving in the restful evening air, borne by some weeping novices, wrought in devices rare. And incense clouds ascending, and many a taper's light, burst on the pilgrim's vision, a fair and holy sight. Requiem aeternam, the aged abbot sings, Dona ei Domine. The loud response note rings. He comes, the victor. We'll welcome him with song. Another saint, now perfect, to Bardsey does belong. The dread Pelagian heresy he trampled from our land, and drove the Druids' tyranny from Cambria's noble strand. He joined his hallelujah with countless thousands more, and drove the heathen foeman the holy cross before. Now that thou reign'st with Jesus, a glorious saint above, O pray, dear Saint Dubricius, for the island of thy love. The abbey church was glistening with incense, lights, and gold. The organ's peal of welcome through aisle and choir rolled. The hooded monks are bearing slowly the bier along. The choristers are chanting a glad triumphant song. Rest, for thy toil is over. The battle's shout no more shall break thy spirit's calm, or mar thy peaceful psalm of praise to Christ the King, whose beauty thou shalt sing throughout the ages long in one unbroken song, forever and for aye, in everlasting day. The lichens and the ivy are creeping up the wall, and growing round the casements, and over the towers tall. The abbey hath grown hoary with centuries of age, St. Mary's Abbey's stories in many an ancient page. And yet her grand old praise notes linger in her choir, for of the praise of Jesus her monks can never tire. Now round the hallowed precincts saints' ashes crowd her sod. Here thousands and 10,000s have passed away to God. Men call the holy island the gate of paradise, and crowd her shores with pilgrims who offer sacrifice in holy Eucharist and tears, and penance for their sin, and pray that through sweet Jesus God's pardon they may win. A pilgrimage to Bardsey, if faithfully twice made, brings blessings all as gracious as if to Rome once paid. So thought the faithful in that day of Bardsey's sacred isle, and sought her weal devoutly for Jesus' sake the while. A maiden fair was weeping, her warrior lover gone, yet not for noisy war strife he leaves her thus alone. Valiant in battle, bravely the gory plains he trod, nor feared the deadly sword thrust, nor the battle's death-strewn sod. And oft times mid the strife clang he thought of his fair bride, whom he should press in triumph so closely to his side. When all at once he altered, he laid his armor by, he said his eyes were opened to see earth's vanity. Eternity seemed opening her vista to his view. He trembled at the prospect, graver he daily grew. Men tried their skill all vainly to dissipate his fear, but Rudolph only answered, Eternity is near. They say this life is joyous, 'tis all too short for me. I must seek joys that fade not throughout eternity. All of earth I'll banish, its hopes, its loves, its smile, and live alone for Jesus in Enlil's sainted isle. This stern resolve all firmly Rudolph right soon did make, and parents, lover, glory, for Christ he did forsake. These things for money promptly earth's servants oft forego, then I, for years eternal, relinquish all below. I'll live alone for Jesus in the monastic life, and in the sacred cloister I'll wage the wondrous strife. With Satan, like our Master, amid the desert wild, I'll give my will to Jesus, just as a little child, that thus I soon may enter the kingdom of the Lord, as said our Saviour Jesus in his own holy word. But Mabel pines, young Rudolph, she pineth sore for thee. To thee her troth she plighted in love's first purity. Within her bower she waiteth, her eyes with weeping sore. They cannot stay her sorrow, she mourneth more and more. Go tell her, said young Rudolph, go tell the lady fair, that I have found a lover of beauty wondrous rare. Yes, tell her he is chiefest among 10,000 too. Yea, altogether lovely, his love is ever true. Tell her my love is Jesus, the Prince of Peace, the King, whose beauty all the angels eternally do sing. But Rudolph, list, she pineth, O canst thou break her heart? Wilt thou prove false to Mabel, so cruelly thus part? Her rosy blush is waning, her cheek is growing pale, Her maiden heart is breaking, soon will her young life fail. As Rudolph listened, teardrops flashed in his dark blue eye. His manly breast was heaving a deep, a piercing sigh. Oh, tell her, brother, tell her, she must not weep for me. Say that I long to meet her where parting may not be. My love is all unaltered, but the eternal years have stole my heart from Mabel, and earth's sad vale of tears. And now a boat is waiting the resting of the tide. 1 hour, Rudolph is landing on Bardsey's southern side, and quick his steps are seeking the abbey's quiet shade. 3 months the princely Rudolph his novice vows had made. 'Twas the Corpus Christi spring feast that now was hard at hand, and pilgrim crowds are waiting on Aberdaron's strand. The sea was gaily sparkling beneath the May day sun. The Aberdaron boatmen a race to Bardsey run. Now in all haste the pilgrims are landing on the isle, for crowds at Aberdaron are waiting all the while. The boats return to fetch them across the sparkling bay, in time for the first vespers of Corpus Christi Day. The grand old abbey temple was thronged both aisle and nave. The vespers from the choir rolled forth their choral wave. And then a grand procession with lights and incense came from out the choir. The old church seemed one bright blaze of flame. For all the congregation a lighted taper bore, in honor of the victim once slain in days of yore. But now with solemn worship borne in procession long, mid incense clouds and tapers and bursts of triumph song. The fathers and the novices came first in order due, then choir boys with banners, all marching 2 and 2. The people fall back reverently as the holy monks draw near. One maiden there is trembling, as if for very fear. Or perhaps it's her devotion that palsies all her frame, but then she would most surely be bowed for virgin shame. It is not thus, for, see now, she pushes through the crowd, close to the monks' procession, she kneels and sobs aloud. She marks young brother Rudolph, and wails a long deep cry. He knew her voice, but turns not, nor lifts his downcast eye. He chants his grand old love song to Jesus Christ the King, borne in the slow procession as the glad joy bells ring. Tantum ergo sacramentum veneremur cernui, et antiquum documentum novo cedat ritui, praestet fides supplementum sensuum defectui. O Jesus, my sweet Jesus, the warrior monk does pray, show her thine own great beauty, make her thine own today. Be thou her glorious bridegroom, be thou her only choice, ravish her with thy beauty, make her to hear thy voice. But as the long procession did wind its joyous way, making the evening twilight almost as bright as day, the countless tapers glittered like hosts of meteors round, and sent a glow of radiance athwart the Bardsey Sound. Right round the islet pealing, the gladsome songs ascend, and with the evening breezes the clouds of incense blend. But what was Mabel doing? Where was the maiden now? O joy! At Mary's altar she plights another vow. Yes, while the girl was weeping, her Rudolph lost and gone, the sacred host drew near her, there from strange glory shone. And there, as if in vision, all wondrous and most clear, Mabel beheld the Saviour, his voice fell on her ear. Arise, my love, my fair one, arise and come away. The winter's past, the rain gone, the sunbeams strew thy way. In lily vales the virgins are waiting now for thee. Arise, my love, my fair one, arise and follow me. Hush! Softly in the distance I hear the nuns' sweet song, 'tis floating through the cloister its fretted roofs along, and mingling with the echoes of nature's own sweet praise, which the lowing herd and the sweet song-bird with insects' hum doth raise. How peacefully, how restfully, such sounds as these combine to soothe the weary spirit, a weary one like mine. But now my spirit wanders, wooed by that distant hymn, through the hallowed door over the storied floor, to the steps of the chancel dim. The nun's sweet hymn was dying in faintest tones away, while prostrate at the altar a maiden's figure lay. 2 years had passed since Mabel had heard the bridegroom's voice in Bardsey's holy island, and made her happy choice. And now before his altar she lays her young life down, and from the hands of Rudolph receives the virgin crown. Yes, Father Rudolph blesses the virgin crown and veil adorn the brow of Mabel with wreaths of lilies pale. Her vows, like his, are plighted forever and for aye, to one whose love and beauty can change not or decay. O happy youths and virgins in cloister homes that dwell, forever and forever your joyous songs shall swell upon the soft sweet breezes of Zion's sunlit lands, upon the lily hill slopes with all the virgin bands. And so Carnarvon convent enclosed another bride, for Jesus Christ the bridegroom, the virgin's joy and pride. It was a calm sweet festal in joyous summer time, and Bardsey's abbey bell notes rang out a merry chime. The island seemed rejoicing with holy joy and mirth. The monks are going to honor St. John the Baptist's birth. For John shines forth as primate of monkish choirs above. On earth he dwelt in deserts, and knew no earthly love. The poor, the sad, the orphans, all love St. Mary's shrine, and venerate her cloister, filled with the love divine. The fathers and the novices they count as loving friends, whom Jesus in his mercy the poor and helpless sends. They teach their children sweetly the gospel's glorious tales, and tend their sick and dying with care that never fails. No poor's rates and no workhouse were needed in those days. The monks were all they wanted, they worked for Jesus' praise. The holy mass was over, the abbot seeks his cell. His heart is strangely trembling, wherefore he cannot tell. 'Tis some foreboding sorrow that makes his spirit sad, though all around is sunshine, and everything seems glad. A strange, a chill forewarning shakes the old man with fear. Some dread, some dire affliction too surely must be near. That night, ere hushful Compline had closed the sacred day, 2 boats the point were rounding of Aberdaron's Bay. In one brief hour there landed, on Bardsey's holy shore, 10 men from Windsor, bringing tidings most sad and sore. They seek at once admission, telling the news they bring. The monks must, ere the morrow, surrender to the king the abbey and its treasures, its church, its relics rare, its vestments and its chalices, its shrines with jewels fair. The monks must sign surrender, acknowledge many a sin they never could have dreamt of, if they would safety win, and call the tyrant merciful for driving them away, making them leave their abbey to ruin and decay. The Compline bell was tolling its last dear Compline call. Tomorrow death like ruin would over the convent fall. That night the holy fathers held consultation long, and all agreed surrender would be unjust and wrong. Then die we at God's altar, sooner than yield the right which God himself has given us to sacrilegious might. And true to their confession the holy monks remained, and with their virgin life-blood the altar steps are stained. The poor arose right bravely their much-loved monks to aid, and many thus right gladly their lives a forfeit made. Now having done all thoroughly their work of cruel wrong, they left the island weeping, all hushed the holy song, which for so many ages, by night as well as day, had praised the love of Jesus in one long ceaseless lay. And now the poor are seeking, among the ruins drear, the bodies of the martyrs, so holy and so dear. Ah, there before the altar the brave old abbot lies, and there too Father Rudolph, with fixed and glassy eyes. But oh, a calm serenest enfolds the martyrs blest. Strange joy lights up their faces, their spirits are at rest. The dear old abbey crumbles, all swiftly to decay. Oh, for its restoration, Cadfan, Dubritius, pray. Ye thousand saints of Bardsey, lift up your pleading song, that Jesus may avenge you of this most cruel wrong. 100 years are over. 2 stranger pilgrims steal to Bardsey's abbey ruins, to pray for Bardsey's weal. The night was stormy, darksome, no moonlight's silver ray lit up the desolation that all around them lay. The hour was lonely midnight. See, now beside the tomb, where holy Cadfan resteth, a light steals through the gloom, and mid the light a figure, in holy monk's attire, and smiling sweetly, brightly, points to the ruined choir. Pilgrims faithful, pilgrims true, list to that I tell to you. Years 300 shall not end ere the King of Heaven shall send saints to rear this sacred fane and restore her walls again. Saints above cease not their cry unto Christ the Lord Most High, that his ceaseless praises may here arise by night and day. New Borrow's Lord shall own this soil ere he resteth from life's toil. Jesus, for his servant's sake, bids him restoration make. And if Newborough's Lord obey that which Jesus' servants say, he shall gain a blessing bright in the realms of morning light. If he do not grant their prayer, he shall lose a blessing rare. When he lies on his last bed, sad regret shall crown his head. To his son shall then be given choicest blessings from high heaven, for he shall restore to God through the monks this sacred sod. Saying thus, he sought repose in the tomb whence he arose. The angel showed me these things in pictures bright and true. I woke, my eyes were resting upon the waters blue. But oh, the waves seem sighing for sorrow at my tale. The sea birds floating over them send forth a piteous wail. O happy waves, no tyrant can hush your endless song. May ye again commingle with Bardsey's chants ere long. Then heaven and earth and nature in unison shall raise one grand joy peal of gladness, one mighty shout of praise. Written at Barmouth and Aberdaron, off Bardsey Isle, February 1870. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Insects by John Clare. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. These tiny loiterers on the barley's beard and happy units of a numerous herd of playfellows, the laughing summer brings, mocking the sunshine on their glittering wings, how merrily they creep and run and fly! No kin they bear to labour's drudgery, smoothing the velvet of the pale hedgerows, and where they fly for dinner no one knows. The dewdrops feed them not, they love the shine of noon, whose suns may bring them golden wine, all day they're playing in their Sunday dress. When night reposes, for they can do no less, then to the heath bell's purple hood they fly, and like to princes in their slumbers lie, secure from rain, and dropping dews, and all, in silken beds and roomy painted hall. So merrily they spend their summer day, now in the cornfields, now in the new-mown hay. One almost fancies that such happy things, with coloured hoods and richly burnished wings, are fairy folk, in splendid masquerade, disguised, as if of mortal folk afraid, keeping their joyous pranks a mystery still, lest glaring day should do their secrets ill. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In Summertime on Bredon by A. Houseman. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. In summertime on Bredon, the bells they sound so clear. Round both the shires they ring them, in steeples far and near. A happy noise to hear. Here of a Sunday morning my love and I would lie, and see the coloured counties, and hear the larks so high about us in the sky. The bells would ring to call her in valleys miles away. Come all to church, good people come and pray. But here my love would stay. And I would turn and answer among the springing time, O peal upon our wedding, and we will hear the chime, and come to church in time. But when the snows at Christmas on Bredon top were strown, my love rose up so early and stole out unbeknown, and went to church alone. They tolled the one bell only, groom there was none to see. The mourners followed after, and so to church went she, and would not wait for me. The bells, they sound on Bredon, and still the steeples hum. Come all to church, good people. O noisy bells, be dumb. I hear you. I will come. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
In the Dead Letter Office, from The Bulletin Reciter, 1901, by R. Stewart. Read for LibriVox.org by Son of the Exiles. In the Dead Letter Office. Come rip the mail bags open, chaps, and sort the stuff away. A thumping mail again from Perth. We'll have some work today. 2,000 unclaimed letters here, if there's a single one. So bustle round the tables, boys, and get the sorting done, that we may have them opened up and let the senders know the reason why there's no reply come back from Westward Ho. For wives have husbands over there, and girls their sweethearts too, and sons who found the old land hard sought fortune in the new. And some died in the hospitals who nameless there have lain, and some lie dead where no man knows upon the scorching plain. And some have glared on blazing skies and cruel desert sands, till reeling brain and bursting heart they stilled with desperate hands. And timid men stay near the towns, but some in quest of gold have wandered from the mailman's track. No letters reach the bold. Then stir yourselves and toss them out, for some are on the rack. These 3 months passed with sorrowing when no reply came back. A gleam of hope to many send who mourn their loved today, for off the envelopes are marked unclaimed or gone away. But some have scored across the face the mournful legend dead, or died in hospital. Ah me, sad missives never read. The daring heart that crossed the sea to win his dear one's bread had perished 'neath the fever pang, no friend beside his bed. And hardly had his sunken eyes filmed in approaching death, and still his frame seemed quivering with one last sobbing breath, when from his wife the letter came so full of loving cheer: "I'm longing for your safe return. God bless and keep you, dear. The children all are well and strong, they send their love to you. We manage just to get along, but 1 week's rent is due. And that can wait, the landlord says. He's better than we thought. He thinks perhaps you'll strike the gold. There's plenty there, you ought." Ah well, such tales are common now, they're multiplying fast. See, yonder lazy 4th-class man is working hard at last. He's crusty and cantankerous and selfish as can be. He growls and grumbles all the day, and little work does he. His tongue is always on the nag, but since the Goldfields mail comes once a month from Albany with many a mournful tale, he's seized with a desire to show a heart he does not lack, and grafts away with might and main to send the letters back. The junior clerks are writing fast, their pen nibs fairly fly. The usual chattering is not heard, and little wonder why, when sending back to some poor girl the tender, loving note that never met the eyes of him for whose dear sake she wrote. And right across the envelope a legend scrawled in red tells how, while she poured forth her heart, the youth lay stark and dead. Alas for those unfortunates whose hopes are in the West, with husbands, fathers toiling there for gold in fierce unrest. For fever, drought, and pestilence will reap a harvest grand. The stoutest hearts Australia owns throb in that deadly land. So when you pass our office by and hear no noisy din, You'll maybe murmur with a sigh, the Perth dead mail is in. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Is My Team Ploughing by A. E. Houseman, read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. Is my team ploughing that I used to drive and hear the harness jingle when I was man alive? Aye, the horses trample, the harness jingles now. No change, though you lie under the land you used to plough. Is football playing along the river shore with lads to chase the leather? Now I stand up no more. Aye, the ball is flying, the lads play heart and soul. The goal stands up, the keeper stands up to keep the goal. Is my girl happy that I thought hard to leave? And has she tired of weeping as she lies down at eve? Aye, she lies down lightly, she lies not down to weep. Your girl is well contented. Be still, my lad, and sleep. Is my friend hearty? Now I am thin and pine. And has he found to sleep in a better bed than mine? Yes, lad, I lie easy. I lie as lads would choose. I cheer a dead man's sweetheart. Never ask me whose. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Legend of Madrid by Adam Lindsay Gordon. Read for LibriVox.org by Michele Fry, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on August 16th, 2016. Francesca. Crushed and thronged are all the places in our amphitheater. Midst a sea of swarming faces, I can yet distinguish her. Dost thou triumph, dark-browed Nina? Is my secret known to thee? On the sands of yon arena I shall yet my vengeance see. Now through portals fast careering, picadors are disappearing. Now the barriers nimbly clearing has the hindmost chulo flown. Clots of dusky crimson streaking, brindled flanks and haunches reeking, wheels the wild bull, vengeance seeking, on the matador alone. Features by sombrero shaded, pale and passionless and cold, doublet richly laced and braided, trunks of velvet slashed with gold. Blood-red scarf and bare Toledo, mask more subtle and disguise far less shallow thou dost need, O traitor, to deceive my eyes. Shouts of noisy acclamation, breathing savage expectation, greet him while he takes his station leisurely, disdaining haste. Now he doffs his tall sombrero. Fools, applaud your butcher hero. Ye would idolize a Nero, pandering to the public taste. From the restless Guadalquivir to my sire's estates he came. Wooed and won me, how I shiver, though my temples burn with shame. I, a proud and high-born lady, daughter of an ancient race. 'Neath the vine and olive shade I yielded to a churl's embrace. To a churl my vows were plighted. Well, my madness he requited, since by priestly ties united to the muleteer's child. And my prayers are wafted o'er him, that the bull may crush and gore him, since the love that once I bore him has been changed to hatred wild. Nina. Save him, aid him, O Madonna, two are slain if he is slain. Shield his life and guard his honor, let me not entreat in vain. Sullenly the brindled savage tears and tosses up the sand. Horns that rend and hoofs that ravage, how shall man your shock withstand? On the shaggy neck and head lie frothy flakes. The eyeballs redly flash, the horns so sharp and deadly, lower, short and strong and straight. Fast and furious and fearless, now he charges, virgin peerless, lifting lids all dry and tearless, at thy throne I supplicate. Francesca. Cool and calm the perjured varlet stands on strongly planted heel, in his left a strip of scarlet, in his right a streak of steel. Ah, the monster topples over till his haunches strike the plain. Low-born clown and lying lover, thou hast conquered once again. Nina. Sweet Madonna, maiden mother, thou hast saved him, and no other. Now the tears I cannot smother, tears of joy my vision blind. Where thou sittest I am gazing, these glad misty eyes upraising. I have prayed and I am praising, bless thee, Virgin kind. Francesca. While the crowd still sways and surges, ere the applauding shouts have ceased, see, the second bull emerges. 'Tis the famed Cordovan beast. By the picador ungoaded, scatheless of the chulo's dart. Slay him, and with guerdon loaded, and with honours crowned depart. No vain brutish strife he wages, never uselessly he rages, and his cunning, as he ages, with his hatred seems to grow. Though he stands amid the cheering, sluggish to the eye appearing, few will venture on the spearing of so resolute a foe. Nina. Courage, there is little danger. Yonder dull-eyed craven seems fitter far for stall and manger than for scarf and blade that gleams. Shorter, and of frame less massive than his comrade lying low. Tame and cowardly and passive, he will prove a feebler foe. I have done with doubt and anguish, fears like dews in sunshine languish. Courage, husband, we shall vanquish. Thou art calm, and so am I. For the rush he has not waited, on he strides with step elated, and the steel with blood unsated leaps to end the butchery. Francesca. Tyro, mark the brands of battle on these shoulders dusk and dun. Such as he is are the cattle skilled toreadors gladly shun. Warier than the Andalusian, swifter far though not so large. Thinkest thou to his own confusion he, like him, will blindly charge? Inch by inch the brute advances, stealthy yet vindictive glances, horns as straight as levelled lances, crouching withers, stooping haunches, closer yet, until the tightening strains of rapt excitement heightening, grows oppressive, like lightning on his enemy he launches. Nina. O'er the horn front drops the streamer, in the nape the sharp steel hisses, glances, grazes, Christ Redeemer, by a hair the spine he misses. Francesca. Hark! That shock like muffled thunder booming from the Pyrenees. Both are down, the man is under. Now he struggles to his knees, now he sinks, his features leaden, sharpen rigidly and deaden. Sands beneath him soak and redden, skies above him spin and veer. Through the doublet torn and riven, where the stunted horn was driven, wells the lifeblood. We are even, daughter of the muleteer. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats, read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. My heart aches, and a drowsy numbness pains my sense, as though of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains 1 minute past, and Lethe words had sunk. 'Tis not through envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness, that thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beechen green and shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease. Oh, for a draught of vintage, that hath been cooled a long age in the deep-delved earth, tasting of Flora and the country green, dance and Provençal song and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south, full of the true, the blushful Hippocrene, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim and purple-stained mouth, that I might drink and leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. Fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever and the fret, here where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few sad, last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despairs, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Away, away! For I will fly to thee, not charioted by Bacchus and his pards, but on the viewless wings of poesy, though the dull brain perplexes and retards. Already with thee. Tender is the night, and haply the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry fays. But here there is no light, save what from heaven is with the breezes blown through verdurous glooms and winding mossy ways. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but, in embalmed darkness, guess each sweet wherewith the seasonable month endows the grass, the thicket, and the fruit-tree wild, white hawthorn, and the pastoral eglantine, fast-fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk-rose, full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves. Darkling I listen, and for many a time I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many a mused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath. Now more than ever seems it rich to die, to cease upon the midnight with no pain, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. Still wouldst thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sod. Thou wast not born for death, immortal bird, no hungry generations tread thee down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and clown. Perhaps the self-same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth, when, sick for home, she stood in tears amid the alien corn. The same that oft-times hath charmed magic casements, opening on the foam of perilous seas in fairylands forlorn. Forlorn. The very word is like a bell to toll me back from thee to my sole self. Adieu. The fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu. Adieu. Thy plaintive anthem fades past the near meadows, over the still stream, up the hillside, and now 'tis buried deep in the next valley glades. Was it a vision, or a waking dream? Fled is that music. Do I wake, or sleep? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Old Armchair by Eliza Cook. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Old Armchair. I love it, I love it. And who shall dare to chide me for loving that old armchair? I've cherished it long as a sainted prize. I've bedewed it with tears, and embalmed it with sighs. 'Tis bound by 1,000 bands to my heart. Not a tie will break, not a link will start. Would you learn the spell? A mother sat there, and a sacred thing is that old armchair. In childhood's hour I lingered near the hallowed seat with listening ear, and gentle words that mother would give to fit me to die and teach me to live. She told me that shame would never be tied with truth for my creed and God for my guide. She taught me to lisp my earliest prayer as I knelt beside that old armchair. I sat and watched her many a day, when her eye grew dim and her locks were grey, and I almost worshipped her when she smiled and turned from her Bible to bless her child. Years rolled on, but the last one sped. My idol was shattered, my earth star fled. I learned how much the heart could bear when I saw her die in that old armchair. 'Tis past, but I gaze on it now with quivering breath and throbbing brow. 'Twas there she nursed me, 'twas there she died, and memory flows with lava tide. Say it is folly and deem me weak, while the scalding tears drop down my cheek. But I love it, and cannot tear my soul from a mother's old armchair. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Outlaw by Badger Clark. Read for LibriVox.org by John Burlinson. When my rope takes hold on a 2-year-old by the foot or the neck or the horn, he can plunge and fight till his eyes go white, but I'll throw him as sure as you're born. Though the taut ropes sing like a banjo string, and the latigos creak and strain, yet I got no fear of an outlaw steer, and I'll tumble him on the plain. For a man is a man, but a steer is a beast, and the man is the boss of the herd, and each of the bunch, from the biggest to least, must come down when he says the word. When my leg swings cross on an outlaw hoss, and my spurs clinch into his hide, he can r'ar and pitch over hill and ditch, but wherever he goes, I'll ride. Let him spin and flop like a crazy top, or flit like a wind-whipped smoke, but he'll know the feel of my rolled heel till he's happy to own he's broke. For a man is a man, and a hoss is a brute, and the hoss may be prince of his clan, but he'll bow to the bit and the steel-shod boot, and own that his boss is the man. When the devil at rest underneath my vest gets up and begins to paw, and my hot tongue strains at its bridle reins, then I tackle the real outlaw. When I get plumb riled and my sense goes wild and my temper is fractious growed, if he'll hump his neck just a triflin' speck, then it's dollars to dimes I'm throwed. For a man is a man, but he's partly a beast. He can brag till he makes you diff, but the one lone brute from the west to the east that he can't quite break is himself. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
the Past by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira. August 2016. Fling my past behind me, like a robe worn threadbare in the seams and out of date. I have outgrown it. Wherefore should I weep and dwell upon its beauty, and its dyes of oriental splendour, or complain that I must needs discard it? I can weave upon the shuttles of the future years a fabric far more durable, subdued, it may be, in the blending of its hues where sombre shades commingle. Yet the gleam of golden warp shall shoot it through and through, while over all a fadeless lustre lies. And, starred with gems made out of crystalled tears, my new robe shall be richer than the old. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song of the Sewing Machine by George Pope Morris. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. I'm the iron needle-woman, wrought of sterner stuff than clay, and, unlike the drudges human, never weary night or day. Never shedding tears of sorrow, never mourning friends untrue, never caring for the morrow, never begging work to do. Poverty brings no disaster, merrily I glide along, for no thankless, sordid master ever seeks to do me wrong. No extortioners oppress me, no insulting words I dread. I've no children to distress me with unceasing cries for bread. I'm of hardy form and feature, for endurance framed aright. I'm not pale misfortune's creature, doomed life's battle here to fight. Mine's a song of cheerful measure, and no undercurrents flow to destroy the throb of pleasure which the poor so seldom know. In the hall I hold my station with the wealthy ones of earth, who commend me to the nation for economy and worth, while unpaid the female labour in the attic chamber lone, where the smile of friend or neighbour never for a moment shone. My creation is a blessing to the indigent secured, banishing the cares distressing which so many have endured. Mine are sinews superhuman, ribs of oak and nerves of steel. I'm the iron needle-woman, born to toil and not to feel. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Sketch from the Life by Arthur Gitterman. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Its eyes are gray, its hair is either brown or black, and strange to say, its dresses button down the back. It wears a plume that loves to frisk around my ear. It crowds the room with cushions in a mound, and queer old rugs and lamps in corners a la Turk, and things. It steals my stamps, and when I want to work, it sings. It rides and skates, but then it comes and fills my walls with plaques and plates, and keeps me paying bills and calls. It's firm, and if I should my many woes deplore, 'twould only sniff and perk its little nose some more. It's bright, though small. Its name, you may have guessed, is Wife. But after all, it gives a wondrous zest to life. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Snake by D.H. Lawrence. Read for LibriVox by Olivia Deering. A snake came to my water trough on a hot, hot day, and I in pajamas for the heat to drink there. In the deep, strange scented shade of the great dark carob tree, I came down the steps with my pitcher, and must wait, must stand and wait, for there he was at the trough before me. He reached down from a fissure in the earth wall in the gloom, and trailed his yellow-brown slackness soft-bellied down over the edge of the stone trough, and rested his throat upon the stone bottom, and where the water had dripped from the tap in a small clearness, he sipped with his straight mouth, softly drank through his straight gums, into his slack long body, silently. Someone was before me at my water trough, and I, like a second comer, waiting. He lifted his head from his drinking, as cattle do, and looked at me vaguely, as drinking cattle do, and flickered his two-forked tongue from his lips, and mused a moment, and stooped, and drank a little more, being earth-brown, earth-golden from the burning bowels of the earth on the day of Sicilian July with Etna smoking. The voice of my education said to me, "He must be killed, for in Sicily the black snakes are innocent, the gold are venomous." And voices in me said, "If you were a man, you would take a stick and break him now and finish him off." But must I confess how I liked him? How glad I was he had come like a guest in quiet to drink at my water trough, and depart peaceful, pacified and thankless into the burning bowels of this earth? Was it cowardice that I dared not kill him? Was it perversity that I longed to talk to him? Was it humility to feel so honored? I felt so honored. And yet those voices, "If you were not afraid, you would kill him." And truly I was afraid, I was most afraid, but even so honored still more that he should seek my hospitality from out the dark door of the secret earth. He drank enough, and lifted his head dreamily, as one who was drunken, and flickered his tongue like a forked knight on the air so black, seeming to lick his lips, and looked around like a god unseeing into the air, and slowly turned his head, and slowly, very slowly, as if thrice a dream, proceeded to draw his slow length curving round, and climb again the broken bank of my wall face. And as he put his head into that dreadful hole, and as he slowly drew up, snake-easing his shoulders, and entered farther, a sort of horror, a sort of protest against his withdrawing into that horrid black hole, deliberately going into the blackness and slowly drawing himself after, overcame me now his back was turned. I looked round. I put down my pitcher. I picked up a clumsy log and threw it at the water trough with a clatter. I think it did not hit him. But suddenly that part of him that was left behind convulsed in undignified haste, writhed like lightning, and was gone, into the black hole, the earth-lipped fissure in the wall front, at which, in the intense still noon, I stared with fascination. And immediately I regretted it. I thought, how paltry, how vulgar, what a mean act. I despised myself and the voices of my accursed human education. And I thought of the albatross, and I wished he would come back, my snake. For he seemed to me again like a king in exile, uncrowned in the underworld, now due to be crowned again. And so I missed my chance with one of the lords of life, and I have something to expiate, a pettiness. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet XVII, the same continued, by James Russell Lowell, read for LibriVox.org by Matthew Datcher. A poet cannot strive for despotism. His harp falls shattered, for it must be the instinct of great spirits to be free and the sworn foes of cunning barbarism. He who has deepest searched the wide abysm of that life-giving soul which men call fate knows that to put more faith in lies and hate than truth in love is the true atheism. Upward the soul forever turns her eyes, the next hour always shames the hour before. One beauty at its highest prophesies that by whose side it shall seem mean and poor. No godlike thing knows aught of less and less, but widens to the boundless perfectness. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sympathy by Reginald Heber. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. A knight and a lady once met in a grove, while each was in quest of a fugitive love. A river ran mournfully murmuring by, and they wept in its waters for sympathy. Oh, never was knight such a sorrow that bore! Oh, never was maid so deserted before! From life and its woes let us instantly fly, and jump in together for company. They searched for an eddy that suited the deed, but here was a bramble, and there was a weed. How tiresome it is, said the fair, with a sigh. So they sat down to rest them in company. They gazed at each other, the maid and the knight. How fair was her form, and how goodly his height! One mournful embrace, sobbed the youth, ere we die. So, kissing and crying, kept company. Oh, had I but loved such an angel as you! Oh, had but my swain been a courter as true! To miss such perfection, how blinded was I! Sure now they were excellent company. At length spoke the lass, twixt a smile and a tear. The weather is cold for a watery beer. When summer returns, we may easily die. Till then, let us sorrow in company. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To One Away by Sarah Teasdale. Read for LibriVox.org by Shakira. August 2016. I heard a cry in the night. 1,000 miles it came, sharp as a flash of light. My name, my name. It was your voice I heard. You waked and loved me so. I sent you back this word. I know, I know. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Sleep by Emily Poulson. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. To sleep. I pray thee, timid sleep, to bide with me. Night after night do not affrighted be, like some wild bird, which at the softest word, or slightest rustle heard, afar from human presence swift doth flee. I woo thee, gentle sleep, with every art that wistfulest desire can impart, but cruelly thou still deniest me thy restful company, and I am weary, body, mind, and heart. Yes, very tired my body is with pain, and heart with care, while thoughts perplex my brain. O sweet repose! If thou mine eyes wouldst close, my wearied limbs compose, and bind me till the morn with slumber's chain. Not yet? Ah, cruel sleep! Soon I shall find thy brother, sterner called, to be more kind. Most welcome guest, death bringeth gift of rest, rest undisturbed and blest, when dream and care and pain are left behind. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To the Virgins by Robert Herrick. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may, old time is still a-flying, and this same flower that smiles today, tomorrow will be dying. The glorious lamp of heaven, the sun, the higher he's a-getting, the sooner will his race be run, and nearer he's to setting. That age is best which is the first, when youth and blood are warmer, but being spent, the worse and worst times still succeed the former. Then be not coy, but use your time, and while ye may, go marry. For having lost but once your prime, you may forever tarry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Uncultured Rhymer to His Cultured Critics by Henry Lawson. Read for LibriVox.org by Son of the Exiles. Fight through ignorance, want and care, through the griefs that crush the spirit. Push your way to a fortune fair, and the smiles of the world you'll merit. Long as a boy for the chance to learn, for the chance that fate denies you. Win degrees where the life lights burn, and scores will teach and advise you. My cultured friends, you have come too late, with your bypath nicely graded. I've fought thus far on my track of fate, and I'll follow the rest unaided. Must I be stopped by a college gate, on the track of life encroaching? Be dumb to love and be dumb to hate, for the lack of a college coaching. You grope for truth in a language dead, in the dust 'neath tower and steeple. What know you of the tracks we tread, and what know you of our people? I must read this and that and the rest, and write as the cult expects me. I'll read the book that may please me best, and write as my heart directs me. You are quick to pick on a faulty line that I strove to put my soul in. Your eyes were keen for a dash of mine in the place of a semicolon, and blind to the rest. And is it for such as you I must brook restriction? I was taught too little, I learnt too much to care for a pedant's diction. Must I turn aside from my destined way for a task your joss would find me? I come with the strength of the living day, and with half the world behind me. I leave you alone in your cultured halls to drivel and croak and cavil, till your voices go further than college walls. Keep out of the tracks we travel. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.